This video is sponsored by Speakly.
It's a very frightening feeling to take a step back after years of doing the same thing and realize, hey, this isn't working. I gotta try something else.
And Google had been trying with its smartphones, putting the work in year after year, and the results were good, sometimes great. But taken in totality, the Pixel always seemed to come up short. Well, about a year ago, Google seemed to remember that old adage that says the worst reason to do something is because we've always done it that way. So it reinvented the wheel in the messy, chaotic way the best reboots happen, blowing up the comfortable but calcified status quo in favor of a bolder, if bumpier, chance at something better. That was the Pixel 6, and this year's Pixel 7 does exactly what it should about most of those bumps, while keeping the price of admission lower than most and bundling the only camera I would have wanted for a once-in-a-lifetime Iceland vacation. If you had a problem with last year's Pixel, odds are the 7 Pro fixes it. Included in its second-generation Tensor chipset is a new modem that I was able to test from Brooklyn to Iceland over the past 10 days, and unlike last year, I found no significant difference in reception when compared with my everyday carry Samsungs. Many of the bugs that plagued Android 12 have been ironed out in version 13, which also brings new interface customizations, like the irrepressibly cute squiggle in the progress bar when you're playing a song or a podcast. I love the squiggle. The display's peak brightness has been bumped up to 1500 nits. The side buttons got bumped down to make them easier to press. The fingerprint sensor is consistent and quick now, alongside an optical face unlock if you like that kind of thing. And to last year's standout design, Google has added more aluminum. It's polished on the Pro, satin on the Amateur, in each case providing contrasting accents to the Gorilla Glass Victus backplate below. That glossy glass gets greasier the more of your prints it picks up, and the aluminum is also very prone to scratching if you're a fellow phone nudist. That said, it held up well to the patented Michael Fisher drop test, which I perform by forgetting it's in my lap while driving, then hip-checking it to the pavement when I leave the car. I'm not sure last year's glass visor would have held up as well. Ecosystem is a word you don't often hear outside of iPhone discussions, and that's something Google hopes to change. Not just with accessories like the watch, the buds, and the eventual tablet, but the ballooning portfolio of proprietary perks you can only find on a Pixel. More than once, I've looked for Magic Eraser on my Galaxy Fold or Flip, trying to easily excise some interloping obstacle in an otherwise perfect photo, only to remember that that feature is a Pixel exclusive. I've shouted at my Samsung phone to stop when its alarm is going off. It doesn't obey, but the 7 Pro does. And when navigating the phone trees of toll-free numbers, I've pined for a feature like Direct My Call to predict and preempt those ponderous prompts. To hear Google tell it, these features are a big reason the company started developing its own silicon, and it plans to unveil even more in forthcoming releases called Pixel Drops. Now, they're not all slam dunks. As exciting as the new photo unblur capability sounds, I haven't been that lucky with it in practice. And I still find Google's reach exceeds its grasp when trying to guess my punctuation in dictated messages, upside-down face emoji.
Oh, that worked well, though. Also, I was really looking forward to trying the new baggage claim notification feature on the at-a-glance widget on my recent flight. But when I landed in New York, it told me my bags were arriving at T4, which is the Delta terminal at JFK, not a specific carousel. So a little bit of work to be done still on that.
But those wrinkles are likely to dissipate as Google further optimizes Android for the Tensor chipset. And as that happens, the Pixel is going to become more and more attractive to the kind of people who value, say, automatic screening of spam calls, or the best camera possible for a journey to one of the most remarkable places on Earth. The Pixel 7 Pro camera in Iceland. After this. Almost every year I go to Germany for the IFA Technology Show, and every year I wish I had taken my high school German language classes a little more seriously. If you're in the same boat, or just want a better way to learn another language, today's sponsor, Speakly, is for you. What makes it better? Well, Speakly researched thousands of language learners for 6 years, and it built a unique method that teaches words and sentences that are relevant to real-life situations.
Nein, das ist nicht mein Handy.
See, the app doesn't waste your time with anything you can't use, which means you can learn languages up to 5 times faster with Speakly compared to what you're used to. And with lessons that include speaking and writing exercises, even music recommendations in your chosen language, your studies never get boring because you choose how you want to learn. Start learning a new language today. Click the link below to try Speakly free for 7 days. If you decide to go for the annual subscription, you'll save 60% on your membership. Happy learning, and thanks to Speakly for sponsoring this video.
Tschüss.
If I had to pick a Pixel 7, I'd pick the Pro, just for the 5x telephoto camera its little sibling lacks. Time and again in Iceland, I found myself punching in to capture the god rays, bathing Reykjavik in the last warm glow of a waning autumn, to snap the superheated steam of the Stroker geyser spewing skyward every 5 minutes or so, or to freeze in time the already frozen flows of Gullfoss Falls, where each second over 3,000 cubic feet of water cascade down a 2-step staircase into a 100-foot valley. But video is not the reason I value the Pixel. The stabilization is great, but for yet another year, the footage is surprisingly noisy with pronounced digital grain in all but the best lighting. Video mode also exposes the capricious focus, wanders way too much, and the sloppy transitions between lenses when you do punch in. You'll often need to wait a couple seconds for the phone to fire up that 5x telephoto camera, and you'll see a pronounced difference in color science when it finally does. Toss in a tendency for the sides of the screen to pick up spurious taps when you're trying to zoom, and, well, the 7 Pro is a pretty frustrating camcorder, to be honest. So it's a testament to the Pixel's still image capability that it's still the camera I'd pick if I weren't Mr. Foldable. Whenever I need to bring out detail in the background while still preserving the tone of the foreground, I know I can count on the Pixel. When I want to document Icelandic cuisine, from the fish cake to the tube steak, or preserve the local wisdom with a silly selfie, I can trust these cameras. And if the result is a little soft, as it sometimes is, yeah, the unblur can help with that a little. Plus, you've still got those motion tools, so instead of fiddling with a tripod and DSLR in the blowing frozen mist for a half hour, you just point and shoot. Back in New York, I put the 7 Pro zoom shot for shot against the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and while the Samsung does edge it out thanks to its dedicated 10x telephoto, the Pixel's quality held up far longer than I expected. Its combination approach of optical and computational zoom is more than enough to help identify icebergs from 30,000 feet. And when the sun goes down in Grindavik and the northern lights come out to play, the Pixel's astrophotography mode is simply unmatched in its ability to capture nature's awesome aurora in both still and time-lapse form. Google continues to tweak the little things in ways I appreciate too. For example, last year I complained that the Pixel viewfinder didn't remind you what resolution you're shooting in, so I ended up shooting a lot in HD that I meant to shoot in 4K. Well, now that's been corrected. Also, most phone cameras reset your zoom setting when you switch between photo and video modes, which has frustrated me for years. The Pixel does not. See, little enhancements like that, they stack up on top of the Magic Eraser, on top of the call screening and everything else that's a Pixel exclusive, plus the fundamentals like clear phone calls and loud, clear speakerphone that I could talk about in more detail, but honestly, they should be, and are, table stakes at this point. The end result is a smartphone experience that's enough of a complete thought that I find I'm more forgiving of battery life that's only average. About 13 to 14 hours of very heavy usage in my testing. And I don't chafe quite as much at the slow 23-watt charging speeds either. Because I'm still getting an experience that I just can't get anywhere else, for a price that in the US is really tough to beat.
You know, I used to have to concoct quite a cocktail of qualifications when describing why past versions of the Pixel appealed to me. You know, there was this kind of ineffable charm that was difficult to describe. Well, the 7 Pro retains that charm while also bringing many more practical benefits to the mobile experience.
In short, iteration was the right choice this year, because this is finally a Pixel that can go toe-to-toe with the competition. It's not just a phone for Android geeks or shutterbugs anymore. I think it's safe to say that last year's Reinvention was worth the risk. The Google phone has finally arrived. This review was produced following 10 days with a Pixel 7 Pro review sample on loan from Google. No, not a hashtag gift from Google, that's different. The company did provide travel, lunch, and a photo-taking experience for media at the Pixel 7 launch event in New York City, but the trip to Iceland was on my own dime. And most importantly, Google had no editorial input of any kind into the production of this review, nor did it receive an early preview of same. Please subscribe to The Mr. Mobile on YouTube if you'd like to see more videos like this. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.